Today, Bitcoin slips below $100,000 as tech stocks slide. And as the Trump administration's first week comes to a close, Paul Grewal of Coinbase breaks down the industry reaction to the president's crypto policy moves. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Digital currencies are headed lower this morning as advancements at Chinese startup DeepSeek sparked concerns around the U.S.'s AI dominance. Now, those fears hit tech stocks hard, and in turn, crypto was pulled lower too. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin slipped below the $100,000 level, Ether traded below $3,100, and XRP fell below $3. Now, over on Wall Street, crypto miners were hit hard in this morning's trading as well. Core Scientific, which has pivoted heavily into AI, is among the hardest hit in the tech stock sell-off, down nearly 30% by midday. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. Despite today's sell-off, investment bank KBW says that Bitcoin miners Bitdeer, CleanSpark, and Core Scientific could offer investors varying degrees of exposure to Bitcoin, mining, and artificial intelligence. The firm initiated coverage on the three mining stocks with outperform ratings, saying that CleanSpark powers one of the most efficient mining fleets, Core Scientific offers exposure to AI and high-performance compute, and Bitdeer provides investors diverse exposure to Bitcoin mining. KBW also said that it was shifting its outlook on digital assets from cautiously optimistic to bullish, thanks in part to crypto-friendly policy put forth by President Trump. Next, two more crypto firms have secured licenses in Europe under new crypto regulation. OKX announced this morning that it secured a Markets and Crypto Assets Regulation, or MiCA license, through its hub in Malta. The exchange said that the approval means investors will soon have regulated access to more than 240 crypto tokens. Crypto.com also received MiCA approval in principle to begin operating in the region. Now, Crypto.com's president said the exchange has been, quote, fully supportive of Europe's regulatory framework and believe it will bring clarity, transparency, and establish a more streamlined sentiment toward the regulation of our industry. All right, let's talk about regulation here in the U.S. for our main story. I spoke with Paul Grewal, Chief Legal Officer at Coinbase, about the repeal of the SEC's controversial crypto accounting rule, executive action from President Trump, and more. All right, Paul, so we're a week into the new Trump administration, and I want to start with just how the crypto industry is feeling about the policy decisions made so far. You've got, crypto executive orders, shakeups at the SEC and CFTC. Are these in line with what the industry was looking for?
We're feeling very good, Mackenzie. Thanks for having me. And we very much see the early action by the Trump administration as in line with exactly what we've talked about, not just over the past 6 months, but frankly, over the last 4 years. You're seeing tremendous action taken by the president himself in the form of executive orders. We've seen the SEC take immediate action to repeal SAB 121. And we've just elected the most pro-crypto Congress in history to match all of this. So we're excited about legislation. There's a lot going on, and we could not be more optimistic about the future for crypto.
Now, one of those specific changes that you just mentioned was a repeal of Staff Accounting Bulletin 121 at the SEC. That set forth rules for businesses and how they accounted for crypto on their balance sheets. What does the pullback of that rule mean for the industry?
Well, what it means is that you're finally going to see fair and full participation by traditional financial institutions, including banks, in custodying crypto assets. The accounting bulletin that was introduced under the Gary Gensler regime at the SEC effectively penalized banks for custodying digital assets by requiring them to treat those assets as liabilities in ways that had tremendous implications for their capital requirements. Now, those institutions, along with many others, can fully participate in supporting crypto through custody and fully support adoption by all sorts of individuals and organizations that up until this point have not been able to be part of the crypto economy. It could not be a more timely action taken by the SEC and fully in line with the attempted repeal of that bulletin by Congress on a bipartisan basis in the last term.
So let's also talk about your case with the SEC. There's been some big leadership changes there. Do you expect that your lawsuit will go away outright? Are you having a dialogue with the agency? And are there still concerns to be addressed here?
Well, we're quite hopeful that with new leadership at the SEC now in place and with a new permanent chair, hopefully to be confirmed in short order, we are going to see a very different approach taken by the SEC, not only with respect to our case, but any number of cases across the crypto industry. We saw acting chair Mark Ueda, for example, just within days of assuming that position, announced the formation of a task force at the SEC led by his fellow commissioner, Hester Peirce, one of the most respected and admired intellectual leaders in crypto. As part of that announcement, we saw that the SEC committed to reviewing its approach to enforcement, including cases brought against exchanges like Coinbase that involved no charges of fraud or manipulation or abuse, but that were simply efforts to target firms that sought in good faith to register and follow rules. So I'm quite optimistic we're going to see a wholesale change in the approach at the SEC. And I do think that will include how they are addressing efforts to encourage firms like Coinbase to come in and register rather than punish them with lawsuits, subpoenas, and more.
What conversations have you been having with the Trump administration about either Coinbase or the industry, and how involved are you in particular or Coinbase as a company?
Well, our conversations with the Trump administration go all the way back to the Trump campaign. And Coinbase has certainly led efforts on the part of the wider industry to educate the Trump team on the opportunities in crypto, the need for sensible rules, and the urgency with which we believe legislation should be passed in order to catch America up to other countries, other parts of the world that have raced ahead over the last 4 years as the Biden administration and Gary Gensler in particular have sought to drive crypto away and drive it underground. What the Trump team has made clear is they are absolutely committed to honoring the promises made during the campaign. And we saw this just in the first few days after President Trump once again took office. We saw, for example, Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the Silk Road, released from prison as a result of a presidential pardon granted by President Trump. We saw an executive order that announced the formation of a crypto council to advise the president, chaired by David Sachs, led by Bo Himes, on crypto regulation policy and what crypto needs in order to protect investors while promoting innovation. We've seen just tremendous interest across the administration and activity across the administration, even in the short time that we've had this new team in place. And all that bodes well for further progress, further activity that we think will support the development of crypto here in the U.S.
Will you or another member of the Coinbase team be a part of that new council that was just announced on Thursday in the executive order?
Well, regardless of whether we serve specifically and formally on the council, you can absolutely expect Coinbase to lend whatever support is called upon on the part of the administration to understand how this important asset class works, what changes and reforms are going to be required in new legislation in order to continue to promote crypto here in the United States, and what other efforts are going to be necessary in order to fulfill President Trump's explicit commitment to make the United States the crypto capital of the world. Whatever is required, Coinbase will step up and deliver in ways that we think are going to serve not just our interests or the industry interests, but more importantly, the American people's interests in seeing this important industry and technology continue to take root in this country.
I also want to ask you about the Trump token while I have you. Where does that fit into this new crypto regime? Because there were some in the industry who were concerned by the news.
Well, Coinbase has elected to list the Trump token, but we have followed our listing process carefully. And as Brian Armstrong, our CEO, has always made clear, as a cryptocurrency platform and exchange, we don't pick winners and losers. We leave that to the market to decide. What I think it says more broadly, though, is that there is tremendous interest in crypto across all sorts of sectors that go beyond technologists, go beyond hobbyists, go beyond the people in Silicon Valley who first brought this important technology to the wider world's attention. I think it's easy to dismiss things like meme coins as unimportant or as supercilious. But I think what we saw in the early development of the internet, for example, was that cat videos ultimately led to mass adoption of YouTube. We saw, if you go way back to chat rooms and AOL, lots of conversations taking place online that focused on topics that seem silly in the moment, but over time laid the foundation for much more serious innovation and much more significant economic development. So we're just excited to see crypto being adopted in all forms, and over time, we're going to trust our customers and the American economy to sort out ultimately what matters most.
I mean, Coinbase has delisted some meme tokens in recent years. So would you say that this is a departure from past strategy then?
Well, I actually think it's entirely consistent with our strategy of applying our standards consistently across all tokens. On occasion, there will be projects which no longer meet our listing requirements, and so we will delist them. But the most important thing from Coinbase's perspective is that the rules in place as set by the SEC, by the CFTC, and ultimately by Congress treat these projects on a non-discriminatory basis and allow the markets to sort out who wins and who loses, rather than winners being picked and losers being picked by unelected bureaucrats in Washington.
Last question for you. We're hearing about potential probes into the crypto industry, both firms and individuals being deliberately debanked. Coinbase has been fighting a FOIA case with the FDIC regarding this issue. What's the latest on this?
Well, it's tremendously gratifying to see Congress, the president, even Jamie Dimon, all speaking explicitly to the problem of debanking, not just in crypto, but across all sorts of different industries in the country and in the economy. And what you've seen from the comments of each of these different stakeholders is that no one wants to see anyone denied basic banking services on the basis of their political views or whether they happen to work in an industry that might be out of favor with the current administration. We've seen Democrats like Maxine Waters also voice support to these efforts to shine a bright light on this. We've seen Republicans like Tim Scott also take up that charge alongside of French Hill. There are, I think, concerns across the political aisle and across the Congress that banking services have in the past been weaponized in order to run roughshod over those who may be out of favor. And Coinbase has, for its part, attempted to shine a big bright light on this, particularly as it has taken place at the FDIC and its oversight of banks. We've exposed, for example, that pause letters were sent by the FDIC to bank after bank after bank all across this country that wanted to do nothing more than offer crypto-related services as part of their portfolio of products and services. So we're gratified to see this interest taking root in all sorts of in corners of the government, and whatever again is required on our part to help shine that bright light even more so going forward is something Coinbase will very much participate in.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.